Welcome to another episode of Dead Men Talk. I think in my quest to bring you more guests from across the creative spectrum to talk about, what they do and the things that really stand out, I think I might have outdone myself with this one, as I welcome very, very talented artist Steve Casino to the show. How you doing?
Hi, how you doing?
All good, all good. It's great to have you on. People who have tuned in may be familiar with what you do already. Some may not. So hopefully those that aren't, we can really sort of give them a reason to go and check you out.
Okay.
Because I guess at the moment, I mean, for a while, my social media newsfeed, what I see, can be a little bit stale. It does take something really quite impressive and different to grab my attention. And that's what happened when some of your posts floated across my newsfeed, and I just had to stop and look. And what you put out
Oh,
there
that's good.
is really, really fantastic. And we'll get into a few specific sort of things that you've done recently. But just for the benefit of those who probably don't know you, just kind of give an overview to begin with of the kind of work that you do in a nutshell.
Okay.
Pardon the pun.
Yeah, exactly. I started out making peanut art, which is I'd take actual peanuts and I would find ones that were shaped like a person, a specific person, and then I would turn it into that specific person. So I would, yeah. Alfred Hitchcock, for example, he was a very recognizable shape. Well, I would find a peanut that looked like Alfred Hitchcock, and then I'd paint Alfred Hitchcock on it. And then from there, I just started doing all kinds of different things. But the core of my work is like caricatures and portraits on little objects.
So how I guess the obvious question is, how does one get into that in the first place? Because it's not your simple sort of, when I did art at school, it was one of my favorite subjects because it was one that I'm naturally quite creative. It might not be much good of what I did, but I really enjoyed it. It's a form of expression. But I was very much on paper, paints, charcoals, that kind of thing. What you do is quite unique, in how you sculpt things and sort of how you do them to that size. If it's like, peanut size and what. How did you go right back? So when did you discover your love or talent for this?
Well, what happened is I had a lot of jobs and I failed at a lot of jobs, but I guess in each job I learned a little something else. So by the time I was looking for a hobby to do, I acquired a lot of skills from, I used to make fake food for TV commercials, like giant chocolate bars and things like that. Actually, I have a piece right here. Wait.
Cool.
I have it on my coffee table because it's so funny, but it's like a giant sandwich cookie.
Yeah. Ideal. So, other cookies are available of that kind, obviously. But,
yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So I just learned, I learned how to sculpt and casting, and I was also a caricature artist, like at fairs. So I would draw people. Yeah. So I just acquired a lot of skills. And I had this friend named Jason Freeney. He's a very famous artist, and he does dissected characters. So he'll take like a cartoon character like The Simpsons, and he does like a skeleton on one side of it.
Oh, okay.
He's very well known. We used to work together, and then he started doing that because he was unemployed and looking for something that I was like, wow, that's really cool. So it made me want to do something. So I'd remembered playing with peanuts like, a couple years prior, and I just started doing those. And it was really cool because I made like the Ramones and like things like that.
Yeah.
And people just, gravitated towards it like really very quickly.
Yeah.
So it gave me impetus to keep doing it.
It's not something you see a lot of. It's not something I've seen a lot of, I must admit.
No, I think I invented it.
Yeah, which is brilliant. Yeah, why not? And it's so the first time that you decided you would give it a go, was there a particular sort of either character or person in mind that you did on that first try? Can you remember?
Well, the first try was me.
Okay.
And it was and with a Sharpie, just very simple. And I drew myself on one, and I went up to my friend. I said, "It's really weird, but this peanut looks like me." And he turned around and saw it and had my face on it. It was hilarious. But the first real one that I painted was Joey Ramone. Okay. And I planned to make the whole band the Ramones. And I was going to do like a little animated video of them, and I basically just finished one peanut, and it's like I don't really have to do a video or whatever. This came out pretty cool. So, and awesome. I think I immediately ran to Facebook, posted it, and people went gaga over it. Yeah. And then I did Batman, and then I did Superman. You know, it's like
the world's your oyster, or your peanut, I suppose. When you know, I guess. Such a vast, you know, not sticking to one particular, you know, field or anything with that. Your imagination can run riot, really. Are there any particular pieces of those sort of, you know, sticking with the peanut art, I suppose, that you're particularly proud of, or you've got, you know, fondest memories of that you're proudest of?
Probably like I made a Robin Williams one that just came out like really much better than any that I'd ever done. And just like down to the little details of his hairy arm, and things like that. It just I would say it's definitely the best one I've done. Cool. And somebody out there owns it somewhere. You know, that's another thing. It's like it led to a lot of like commissions, and pretty much every one that I do now is I just do it. You know, someone hires me to make it.
Okay, cool. And then it's sort of like private work. Do you do any sort of off your own steam? Do you still do that, you know, the peanut art, or have you sort of moved on to other things at the moment?
No, I do it, not so much anymore. Maybe like, you know, every year I'll do 5 that I just feel like doing. Like last year I got into was that guy Chris, he's from Saturday Night Live, that
okay, yeah,
the Chippendale dancer.
I'm not sure. No, I don't tend to watch over. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got into a kick with him, and so I did a bunch of those, and you know, I just posted them and sold them.
Okay. Yeah, I can see you've got a hell of a following on social media.
Yeah, Chris Farley, that's his name.
Chris Farley. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. So you've. I mean, how long once you started doing this and posting about it, did you find there was a following for it? You know, did it take off quite quickly, or is it something you really had to work at?
Well, it was mainly all my friends saw it, and they started sharing it, and then it went viral like very quickly, and then I just started doing more. You know, it's like I was like possessed. And I was like, got to do the Addams Family, got to do Star Trek, you know.
Yeah.
So I that's how it occurred for a while, and it like very early on I got on television for like over here we have a show called Good Morning America.
Okay.
And they called within the first like 3 months of doing it, they called me and had me come to New York and be on air with them. So that was pretty cool.
That's sort of when you know that it's kind of hit the mainstream, almost, you know, if it gets recognized at that level. That's impressive.
Yeah, but I mean, that was probably about 7 years ago, and it's like it still hasn't slowed down yet.
And then I suppose you didn't after that, really, once you get that kind of exposure. No. I see you got some sort of recognition from Ripley's Believe It or Not. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Have I seen that right? What was that about?
Yes. That was you know, they publish that book every year. It's whatever. So yeah, they had some of my peanuts in there.
Okay.
And then the next year they had, I also do Tic Tac art, where basically I take little tiny Tic Tacs and those also got in there. So I think I'm out of things to be in Ripley's for.
But still, so I mean, you know, it's not something that everyone's going to put to their name, you know, amongst everything else that you've been doing.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to start eating large chunks of metal to get in there.
You don't want to do that. I read one particular article because I've gone through a few of the ones that are out there about your work already, And the way they introduce you and describe you, I think, is one of the coolest, almost like job titles to have. Peanut, taxidermist, and toy creator. I mean, that's pretty cool, isn't it? I mean, there's not too many people out there who can lay claim to that either.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I wrote that myself.
Did you? That's awesome. Why not? But yeah, talk about onto the sort of the toy creator part then, because that was something I wasn't aware of when I first sort of discovered your work myself. So yeah, what do you do in that respect in the toy?
Okay, so there's two aspects to toys that I do. One is I make old wooden toy, like parodies of wooden toys.
Mm-hmm.
So for a span of from the like 1920s maybe until the 70s, these Fisher Price was mainly the company, and they made these roll along toys that you pull them and they're animated.
Yeah.
And I always saw them around, and they're just kind of like every yard sale, whatever, flea market, you would see these things. And one day I'm just like, that'd be funny if, I made them films and weird characters and like Jack Nicholson from The Shining on one of those toys. So it looks like a preschool toy, but it's like horrible subject matter.
It's amazing.
So so I started making those out of wood, and that's really fun. I still do those. I just finished an Aliens one with a Sigourney Weaver. But my toy experiences, since about 1997 or 8, I've been a toy inventor, and I work at a company called Bang Zoom Design. And basically, our job is we come up with ideas to sell to companies like Mattel and Hasbro.
Okay, wow.
And it's really, it's fun, but it's very hard work, much harder than painting peanuts, because it's like you have to be on target on the marketplace and come up with really cool stuff. So I have a lot of experience in that too. That's one of my many jobs.
Your many jobs, keeping yourself busy. But working in the toy industry, I used to, one of my first jobs actually, I was just working in a toy shop when one opened locally, and it was the best thing. It was just before Christmas as well, and I'm still a big kid at heart, so it was fantastic to kind of get paid to demonstrate and just be around toys all the time. So it's so what kind of not going into too much detail, obviously giving too many secrets away, but in that realm, in the toy invention, so what kind of thing, is there a particular kind of thing that you gravitate to with that?
We strangely enough, we're a bunch of middle-aged dudes, and we come up with a lot of Barbie items and dolls, that type of thing. Cool. We did a line of toys called Hairdorables that were out, and one of the neater toys that we've done in the past couple of years is this. It's called Squeakee, the balloon dog, and it's a balloon dog, but it's alive.
Okay,
it's a robot. But it doesn't look like it should be able to do the things that it does, but it's really cool.
That's very cool.
And it makes squeaky sounds when it walks. And
so you do the initial bit of coming up with the ideas for that. Is there then it goes on to someone else for obviously the actual production side, or do you have a foot in that as well?
Oh no, we with a toy like that, we developed it. We have really awesome guys who create these prototypes and stuff in the office.
Cool.
So like Squeakee, for example, that probably took 6 months to make that prototype.
Right. Wow.
So,
and then it could well be the next thing that's on the Toys That Made Us. I love that series.
Yeah. So part of that was filmed in our office.
Oh, is it really? Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Like whenever they interviewed people the first season, that was in our office.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, because we're in Cincinnati, Ohio, where Kenner Toys used to be, so that there's a lot of like toy legacy type people around here.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's so. Being, like I say, being a big kid myself, hearing these kind of things, learning more about it is fantastic. And I suppose it's moving nicely onto the one side of your work that really grabbed me, and the reason, I guess that it plopped onto my newsfeed is I'm a big retro gaming fan. I grew up with, you know, the NES, the SNES, and all that kind of thing. And you do some remarkable things with old game cartridges. And so you just talk about that. You know, I can flash some images up here, you know, as it goes on to show the guys. But I mean, if they go to your social media, which I'll be directing people to anyway at the end of this, you know, you can see how much you've done and the fantastic things. These pop out sculptures you do on these actual game cartridges. Just kind of talk about that side, you know, what you do with them and sort of how you do it, and you know where your inspiration comes from, I suppose.
Yeah, so that all started with there's a Mario art show in New York, and I got invited to make a piece for it, and I thought it would be pretty cool to do like a big cartridge, but like kind of do like cut out the cartridge and have Mario like trapped inside the cartridge.
Right.
And so it was wood, and it was actually pretty large, and that was I posted it on my social media, and a friend of mine, Michael Rex, he's a children's book author, artist. He's like, why don't you just do that on a real cartridge? And I'm like, yeah, I never really thought of that, because it's like when you put artwork in a gallery, you kind of want a big presence for it. Yeah. You know, like people don't want to spend a lot of money on something very small. Yeah. I found that from the peanuts. Like I can sell peanuts online very easily, but if they walk into a gallery and they see something really small that costs a lot of money, they just kind of walk away.
Yeah.
So I made that big cartridge for a reason. But then I'm like, you know what? I'll do the exact same thing, but on a real cartridge. And I did it, and I cut it out, and I filmed a video of it. And I got a lot of, you know, people who liked it, but I got so much hate mail. Just
I was going to say,
from gamers.
Yeah, I noticed one particular post you put up, and you put your comments back to them, because they really went off on one about you just desecrating this cartridge, which could be worth a lot of money, and your response was fantastic. But do you still get a lot of that then? Just, you know, people that are obviously very precious
every single day. Yeah, every single day. Like and it ranges from kind of funny to evil.
Right.
You know, like people threatening to have me audited, like they're going to call the IRS on me, just to like mess with me.
Okay.
So yeah. So anyway, I use these cartridges, and they're not really rare, and they're not, you know, it's like you can go on eBay and find them for $10.
Yeah.
But people just see this old cartridge, and also it doesn't help that right now in the news there's a lot of old cartridges, you know, sealed in the box, going for millions.
Yeah.
You know, at auction. Yeah. But you know, if you get a loose Mario cartridge, it's worth like $10.
Yeah, you're hardly going to spend. You're hardly going to spend loads of money.
Millions of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like they made millions and nobody threw any away. So there's still millions out there just rotting.
Yeah.
You know? But people I've had death threats. I've had on Reddit, I had a whole Reddit thing where people wanted to kill me.
What? It's amazing. It's amazing how deep someone's passion goes, I suppose, but it's dangerous, isn't it?
Yeah, they feed off each other. Okay. But I keep doing them anyway because they're very popular and people like them.
I honestly admit, whenever your stuff, whenever I do see it, and I mean I go looking for it now. If it you know if it goes a few days and I've not seen anything, because it is the one thing that really does make me stop and watch. And I just scroll. You know, I think a lot of us do. There's so much we can just scroll past these days. But I think what you do, especially with these, it really resonates with me, because you know they're old games. A lot of them old games that I remember.
Right.
But also, it's what you do with them is so unique. Because just talk about the loose kind of process you follow in order to create one of these art pieces.
Well, I mean, originally it's like I like to play around with the concept a lot and do funny things with them. But a lot of people like I just finished a Mike Tyson's Punch Out one. I love Punch Out. That's like my favorite game. Yeah. And I love the characters. They're hilarious. So my goal is I'm trying to do all the characters from Punch Out.
Okay.
So if people contact me and they're like, hey, I want a Punch, I won't make Mike Tyson again, you know, because I've already done him. So it's like, I just finished Soda Popinski, and that's the guy who drinks the
soda.
Yeah. So yeah, I tried to find like a humorous aspect. Like right now, I I like to play around with the space. So I did, for example, a Mario one, and it had Mario and Ms. Pac-Man. So Mario is like leaning out of his cartridge, and Ms. Pac-Man's there, and he's kissing her. But unbeknownst to him, Pac-Man's are on the side with a gun, and he's like getting ready to shoot him. So I just try to think of imaginary scenarios that happen with the video game characters. So I'm going to do one with Dr. Mario and Excite Bike. So the guy from Excite Bike is like completely wiped out, and Dr. Mario is like, fixing his leg. And
That's fantastic. So do you find, obviously there's a certain following for things like this and that. Have you got people who either commission or buy your stuff sort of multiple times? Is there people out there collecting your stuff that you know of?
Yes. There's one, like for every aspect of what I do, there's like an Uber collector. Like there's this one guy in I think it's North Dakota. No, not North Dakota. I can't remember. But he's the peanut collector, and he has so many pieces of my work. And there's another guy who collects my I make monsters also coming out of objects.
And
he has about 10 or 15 of those. Cool. So yeah, I found there's a collector for everything.
Yeah. Is there I guess sticking with the game cartridge ones just for a bit longer, obviously the NES cartridges are the ones that you tend to do most of, I've seen. Is that because like space wise they give you more scope to do stuff with? Would it work with the smaller stuff like say the SNES cartridges and that, or is there a reason?
Yeah, I've done a few of those, and I've done a few, the modern. I'm actually working on one of Diablo Resurrected right now.
Cool.
This is for a very special secret project, but it'll be out by the time this airs.
Cool.
And so I do boxes, and I've done SNES, and I think I've done 64 cartridges. I've done a couple Atari. But NES is probably my wheelhouse. It's my favorite one. It's like those games like resonate with me a lot more than any other games. Like Atari games are awful.
I was never a big I grew up with, I think we had a Spectrum was the first thing that I remember having.
Oh wow.
I did. I don't remember doing, I think we spent more time waiting for games to load than we did actually playing them.
And that's like that's a rich kid toy.
Far from that. But then we went over, I think my sister and I, we shared consoles, and then it's the NES, and then naturally, the SNES or whatever. But then I still, it's a bit like I was a pro wrestling fan growing up. I do another podcast about that as well, and I always hark back to there's something about the retro aspect of everything I suppose I grew up with, which is better than what they do today. Not a massive gamer today. I would always go back and do the older stuff. Is there, do you have an affinity with sort of the gaming market in a sense? Is it something you grew up with and loved, or is it just something that you've taken on throughout your artwork?
No, I love it, but I had to make a decision about 10 years ago that if I wanted an art career, I had to give up games because they're so time consuming. So I haven't really touched any, like every now and then I'll do a little something just to, get a feel for it, but I stay away because it's like, next thing I know, it's 4 a.m. and I'm playing this game.
Yeah, I've been there. So
the last thing I think I played was Resident Evil 4, and that was it. I finished it. It's like, I'm not playing any more games after it.
That was probably one of not the last, but one of the last games that I was fully immersed in. Was that, and then my kids came along, and I remember them being really, really small, and they were like sleeping in their cot in the lounge, and I was still playing things like Silent Hill. And it kind of occurred to me, I think through my wife, actually, this isn't appropriate anymore. I can't kind of sit here and play these things. So, Tomb Raider, I think the sort of the remake that came out for Xbox and 360, and that was sort of the last one I played. I just struggled to get back into it, but sort of let's talk about sort of, current stuff. What sort of projects that you can talk about that have you got on the go at the minute, or have you got planned? Is there anything in particular that you've got mapped out that you want to do that you haven't yet as well?
So like I'm working on a book.
Cool.
I'm working on also next year I have 3 art shows like before June, so I have to get all the pieces done for those.
Right.
And I have a lot of commissions. I kind of got backed up with commissions because it's like I said yes to too many people.
It's the thing, when your stuff becomes popular, you find you're in demand.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's like every single day I have people writing me and wanting to buy art or whatever, but I can only produce so much. So it's kind of a problem. So if anyone out there wants to be an assistant,
that sounds like an ideal job, really.
This is your job interview.
That's amazing. So I mean, I know it's probably different piece to piece, but how long does it take to create one of these? So I mean, take the peanut ones against the game cartridge ones, for example. Sort of how much time are you devoting to each one?
I would say each. Well, that's another thing is like things take me longer now because I got better in my details, much more, deep.
Yeah.
So it used to be, it's probably 10 hours on the average for anything.
Wow.
And then, that's another thing I'm trying to do is like a lot of multiples. So, where I make something, I cast it and make 4 or 5 of them.
Oh, okay.
So it's a lot easier to do like the assembly line process than to make each one different.
Yeah. So from the point of you having this initial thought of what you want to do, when the new project hits your mind, are you able to like get started on it straight away, or have you got a process of trying to capture or remember that for doing later on?
No, usually I work on about 4 or 5 things at once.
Okay.
So I just kind of work it into the process. So, I'll be making a peanut, I'll be doing a cartridge, I'll be making a wooden toy. And it's like, oh, I have an idea. Like last week I made an evil bologna toy. It looked like a actual stack of bologna on the package. Yeah. And I just wanted to do it. So I had ideas. So I sculpted that while I was waiting for this to dry, and that's how it usually works.
Cool. And I suppose sort of winding it down a little bit, going right back to when you first started doing, art in any sense. Now, is there any particular artists out there that have inspired you, or that you feel have influenced you in any way?
There's this guy, probably the first guy who really got me to kick it off. His name's Wayne White, and if you Google him, you'll find him. He does all kinds of things, which I gravitated towards because I do all kinds of things. But he does a lot of paintings where he takes like old flea market paintings. He'll find a landscape, and then he'll paint like lettering in there, and he'll write these like crazy words.
Okay.
And I just thought it was really good. So there's a documentary made of him and his wife, Mimi, that came out, and it's called I can't remember. I'm very bad with the nouns today. But anyway, Wayne White's biography. And it's really good. And it inspired me to become an artist, because it's just this guy who basically lived and breathed it his whole life.
Cool.
Oh, it's called Beauty is Embarrassing.
Okay.
Is the film.
That's a title you won't. I might have to hunt that one out, actually.
Yeah.
That sounds cool. Yeah. So just before we let you go, because I know you obviously, very, very busy by the sounds of it. Thank you so much for your time. This has been great, sort of delving in.
Oh, you're welcome.
And like I say, it's one of the very few things that has just grabbed my attention. It's what you do is so different.
Oh, good.
And I really, really love it. So, I will be definitely keeping an eye on what you're doing. And where can people find you is sort of the last thing. So, anyone who we've inspired to go and check you out throughout the course of this interview, where can they find you? Contact you, whatever, even if they just want to sort of see more of what you've done.
Okay, I'm on Instagram is just my name, Steve Casino. and Facebook, Steve Casino Art. And I don't know, I'm on TikTok as Steve Casino, but I don't post there a lot.
I tried with TikTok.
That's where that's where the most people attack me.
I mean, oh, okay, fair enough. That's a good reason, probably.
Yeah, it's 11-year-olds. You know, they're like wolves taking down an elk.
It's bad, isn't it? But I think, you know, however, I can't remember who I've heard say this kind of thing, but I know I've heard it. But you know, whatever exposure you're getting, good or bad, you know, you've caused a response in someone on an emotional level, which I think is what all artists, exactly. You know, anyone in the creative world, that's what they want. You know, whether it's good or bad, you know, you've hit a nerve there somewhere.
Yeah. For example, those, you know, you're talking about people that write me and scream at me, and then I write funny answers back to them. I love that. It's like, whenever I post those, people write to me and they're like, "Oh, don't, you know, you shouldn't feel bad about that. You're a really good artist." It's like, you don't understand. I'm just doing this because it's fun. I'm like, I live for these people to write horrible things to me, because then I can, you know, write back to them.
Yeah. It's just kind of, you know, not even justifying what you're doing, because I don't think you've got to justify that. It's just kind of putting people back in the box a lot of time.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, Steve, this has been fantastic, mate. Thank you so much for coming on. And for everyone who's listening, watching this, to check out Steve on social media. And, you know, it might send a few more commissions your way from this. You never know. I'm not that you need much more to be doing, but, but
yeah.
Cool. Thank you, mate. Thanks so much.
All right. You're welcome. Have a good one. Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to like, share, and hit the subscribe button. Also follow us on Facebook and Instagram to keep updated about all future shows.